OneNet is reaching its end after more than 3 years. It was a huge research initiative bringing together a lot of research centers and stakeholders to, let's say, advance our knowledge on electricity market design, both theoretically, but I would say also really practically by putting in place a lot of demonstrators. And, this is important because in Europe, we continue to work on our electricity markets. We continue to develop and refine our network codes with the aim to have effective, efficient markets for electricity and for all the services needed to manage the system. Helena Gerard from VITO, you played a very important role in work package 3 on market design and then also in the roadmap for OneNet. So I would like to ask you, could you tell us 3 key messages, key results of OneNet that could feed our work, our further work on European electricity networks now and in the future?
Absolutely. So if I would summarize the main 3 elements where OneNet can contribute, not only to the upcoming network code on demand-side flexibility, but also upcoming policy on market design, then I would say, first of all, harmonization. Harmonization of products and services. Second element, which is extremely important, is quantification. How will you quantify the different policy options so that you can choose for a specific grid the best option? And the third element, which is also extremely important, is innovation at the process level. But in order to have innovation at the process level, you need to also have new toolings available for system operators. So maybe if I come back to those elements. So the first element was harmonization. The network code talks a lot about harmonization of flexibility products and services. OneNet proposed a framework for product harmonization, meaning that we can use this framework for future flexibility services and products that will come into the market. In addition, OneNet also proposes 6 different products that can be used for both balancing and congestion management. So a combination of services between TSOs and DSOs. The second element I spoke about was quantification. So quantification is extremely important. You have a lot of options on TSO-DSO coordination. And every option, dependent on what is the grid, what are the needs of the system operators, is different in terms of efficiency, in terms of procurement cost, but also in terms of equipment cost. If you can quantify those costs, it will be much easier for policymakers to decide which of these options need to be taken. And the third element, which is extremely important, is also innovation at the level of processes. Talking about the network code, you have, for example, pre-qualification, but also baselining and settlement, which are very relevant processes where, again, multiple options exist and where today we don't yet have an answer, what is the best option? In order to make sure that we can at least implement those different options that are left open for, within the network code, we need novel tools. For example, OneNet has developed a flexibility register that can support not only the pre-qualification process, but also elements such as baselining and settlement. And these type of tooling innovation and process innovation will also support policymakers to make the right selection of which option in the end will be taken.
OneNet was a huge research project, but of course, no project can cover everything. So, according to you, is there any aspect, any element of electricity market design that was, let's say, a bit at the margin of the OneNet project, maybe not fully tested in one of the demonstration? And I don't know, could some of these elements at the margin be interesting for future research, also to address maybe upcoming challenges in electricity?
OneNet focused on electricity markets, OneNet focused on system operators, and OneNet focused on the operational tooling to let markets, flexibility markets and energy markets function in the most efficient way. Mm-hmm. If you then think what is needed even beyond those achievements within OneNet, we can also see 3 elements. First element is not only about electricity. We should also think about other energy carriers. For example, gas, heat, but also all power to X. So sector coupling will be the next thing. Second element, we focused a lot on explicit markets, market platforms. But it's not only about explicit flexibility. We should also think about implicit flexibility. For example, flexible connection agreements or tariffs. This is also something which will be part of the entire market ecosystem. And thirdly, we focus a lot on the system operator side. Obviously thinking about to do that in a consumer-centric way, but we need to have the consumers on board. And in order to look or to have the consumer on board, what is important to have them on board is to check what are for them novel business models, but also novel market design options. For example, peer-to-peer and energy sharing will be two topics where not only at a conceptual level, but also at an algorithmic level and a tooling level, we need to have more research so that it can be implemented and it can connect nicely with the developments that we did, for example, in a market-based project like OneNet.
Thank you, Helena. Very insightful. So really, OneNet worked, aspired to realize this system, one system for pan-European electricity markets. But as you said, first, there is not only electricity anymore, it's also other energy vectors. Second, there is not only market instruments, but also tariffs, something more about network regulation. And finally, really, the consumer was involved, but we can do even more in the future. So let's say that we will meet again, I'm pretty sure, in the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Helena.
Thank you.